What if I told you that one of the most dangerous jobs in all of Tudor England had nothing to do with battles, nothing to do with executions, and nothing to do with the political games being played in the throne rooms and council chambers of Hampton Court Palace? What if the most physically destructive work happening inside one of the most famous royal palaces in all of English history was being done not by soldiers or spies or ambitious courtiers, but by women who most people today have never once thought about? And what if the specific thing these women were doing every single day, the thing that was slowly destroying their hands, their lungs, and their bodies, was something so ordinary, so completely unremarkable, that you have done a version of it yourself this week? Here is another question. What do you think happened to the sheets and clothing of 1,000 people living inside a single building in 1540, before washing machines existed, before running water existed, before soap as we understand it existed? Someone had to clean all of it, every single day. And the women whose job that was were working with substances so corrosive that extended contact with them caused permanent physical damage to the human body. And here is the question that is going to stay with you for the entire duration of this video. There is one specific detail about the laundry process at Hampton Court in 1541, ingredient used in the cleaning of royal linen that almost nobody who hears it for the first time actually believes. We are going to get to that detail. But first, you need to understand the world these women were living and working inside. If any of this already has you curious, hit subscribe right now. We do exactly this every single week, pulling back the curtain on the parts of history that the grand portraits and the official records were never designed to show you. Now, let us go inside. Hampton Court Palace in 1540 was not simply a building. It was essentially a small city contained behind a single set of walls. Henry VIII's court, at its peak, housed somewhere between 800 and 1,000 people at any given time. Courtiers, nobles, ambassadors, guards, clergy, cooks, stable hands, musicians, physicians, secretaries, and the vast invisible army of servants who kept the entire elaborate structure functioning from the moment before dawn until long after midnight. Every single one of those 1,000 people wore clothing. Every single one of them slept in linen. And all of that linen, all of those shirts, shifts, sheets, pillowcases, tablecloths, napkins, and undergarments had to be cleaned regularly. The department responsible for this was called the laundry, and it was divided into several specific sections. The privy laundry handled the king's personal linen. The chamber laundry handled the linen of the broader royal household. And there were additional laundry operations for the kitchen linens, the stable cloths, and the general household fabrics that accumulated in staggering quantities every single day. The women who worked in these laundry departments were called laundresses, and their position within the palace hierarchy was among the lowest that existed. They were not ladies in waiting. They were not chambermaids or personal attendants. They were working women from ordinary backgrounds who had obtained their positions either through family connections within the servant networks of the palace or through sheer practical necessity, because the work was so physically punishing that the turnover was constant and positions needed to be filled regularly. A laundress at Hampton Court in 1540 woke before any part of the palace was properly awake. The fires beneath the laundry cauldrons needed to be lit and burning hot before the work could begin, and bringing those enormous stone and iron cauldrons to the right temperature took hours. The water itself had to be carried. There were no pipes, no pumps, no taps. Water came from the palace wells and from the river, hauled in heavy wooden buckets by the laundresses themselves across the courtyard and into the laundry rooms. A single full cauldron required dozens of trips. And there was not one cauldron. There were many. Now here is where the reality of Tudor laundry begins to separate itself permanently from anything you might have imagined. The cleaning agents available in 1540 were nothing like soap as we understand it. The primary cleaning substance used in Tudor laundry was lye, a powerfully caustic solution made by filtering water through wood ash. Lye is essentially a diluted form of potassium hydroxide. It is chemically corrosive. It breaks down organic matter, which is exactly what makes it effective at removing stains from fabric. It also breaks down skin. Laundresses worked with their bare hands directly in lye solution for hours at a time every single working day. The effects on their skin were severe and progressive. Hands that worked regularly in lye solution became cracked, raw, and deeply painful. The chemical burns were constant. Open cracks in the skin allowed infection to enter easily, and without any effective treatment for infection in 1540, minor hand injuries could escalate into serious illness with terrifying speed. Women who spent years working in Tudor laundry rooms showed visible and permanent physical damage to their hands that aged them far beyond their actual years. But the lye was not the only hazard inside those rooms. The steam itself was a constant problem. The laundry rooms were enclosed stone spaces with limited ventilation, and the cauldrons boiling continuously for hours produced thick clouds of hot steam that mixed with the chemical vapors rising from the lye solutions. Breathing this mixture daily caused progressive respiratory damage. Laundresses in Tudor England had significantly shorter working lives than almost any other category of palace servant, and chest complaints, what we would today recognize as chronic lung damage, were so common among them as to be essentially universal. Now, here is the detail we promised you at the beginning of this video, the one that almost nobody believes the first time they hear it. One of the standard additional cleaning agents used in Tudor laundry, particularly for stubborn stains on royal linen, was human urine. Collected urine, specifically urine that had been allowed to age for several days, was used as a soaking solution for heavily soiled fabric before the main washing process began. This was not unusual. This was not a desperate improvisation used only in emergencies. It was standard practice across Europe and had been for centuries. Aged urine contains ammonia, which is genuinely effective at breaking down organic stains, and Tudor laundresses knew from long experience that it worked. There were collection vessels kept specifically for this purpose. In a palace housing 1,000 people, the supply was not a problem. The management of it, the collection, the storage, the application was simply another part of the laundress's daily working reality. Think about that for a moment. These women were arriving before dawn, hauling water across stone courtyards in the dark, building fires under heavy cauldrons, submerging royal linen into aged urine solutions, then processing everything through corrosive lye with their bare hands, then rinsing, wringing, carrying, and hanging fabric that weighed enormously when wet, and doing all of this in a steam-filled stone room with no ventilation, while their hands cracked and their lungs slowly accumulated damage, and the palace above them hosted banquets and music and the elaborate social theater of Tudor court life. The courtiers whose shirts these women were cleaning earned more in a single month than a laundress earned in a year. The king whose linen they handled owned palaces across England. And the women who made it all presentable, who ensured that the gleaming surface of Tudor court life remained gleaming, they left almost no trace in the historical record at all. Their names were not written down. Their suffering was not considered remarkable. They were simply part of the machinery that kept everything running, invisible by design, essential by necessity. You would not survive one day doing what they did every single day of their working lives. Not because you are weak, but because what they endured was genuinely extraordinary And the most remarkable thing about it is that nobody at the time thought so at all. Hit subscribe if this is the kind of history you want more of. Leave a comment below. Tell us which part of Tudor life you want us to pull apart next. We will see you in the next one.